The stage lights in the Vought Plaza were so bright they made the sky look fake. A huge screen showed smiling faces and bold words. Dawn of Hope Tour. People cheered on cue. Cameras rolled from every angle. A Vought host in a perfect suit spoke like he was selling a dream. Behind him stood Starlight and Homelander. Starlight's smile was real enough to hurt. Homelander's smile was perfect, like a mask that never slipped. Starlight kept her eyes moving. She watched the crowd. She watched the rooftops. She watched the places where trouble always came from. Homelander stood still like a statue that decided to dress up as a man. Today, the host said, we remind the world that heroes are here to protect you. The air above the stage made a sound like glass being twisted. Starlight's head snapped up. The space above the host rippled. Not like heat, not like smoke, like the world was tearing open. The host froze mid-sentence. His smile died. The crowd's cheering became confused noise. Then the sky tore. A jagged oval of darkness opened above the stage, and a man in a red and black suit fell out of it head first. He hit the stage with a loud slap, rolled and popped up like he had practiced it. He raised both hands to the crowd like he was greeting fans. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, voice carrying even without a mic. "Thank you for having me. I'm here for the, cross-promotion?" Starlight stared. His suit looked like a costume, but it also looked like armor in the wrong places. 2 swords were strapped on his back, guns on his hips. He moved like someone who knew pain very well and did not respect it. Homelander's smile stayed on, but his eyes sharpened. The dark oval crackled again. A second man stepped out. He was shorter, broad, and built like a fighter. He wore a worn jacket and a grim expression. His hair was messy. His eyes were old. He looked around once, fast, like a cornered animal deciding where to bite first. "Where are we?" the red-suited man asked, turning in a slow circle as if searching for the right camera. "This doesn't look like the Xavier Mansion, or the sad gray future, or the—" "Shut up," the second man said, low and rough. The host stumbled backward and almost tripped over his own feet. Security rushed in, black suits and rifles, shouting into earpieces. "Hands up, on the ground." The red-suited man brightened. "Oh, good, the welcoming committee. Hi, I have a small list of demands. First, a trailer. Second, dental. Third, a rifle cracked." The red-suited man jerked as the bullet hit him in the chest. He looked down at the fresh hole in his suit, then looked back up. "Okay," he said calmly. "So this is that kind of neighborhood." More shots followed. The red-suited man dropped backward off the stage, hit the ground, and didn't move for a beat. The crowd screamed and surged away. Phones lifted anyway. People always filmed. The second man stepped forward, placing himself between the stage and the crowd without even thinking about it. He wasn't trying to be a hero. He was trying to stop something worse. A guard swung a rifle toward him. The second man's hands clenched. 3 metal claws slid out of each fist with a clean, sharp sound. The guard's eyes went wide. Starlight felt her stomach drop, not because of the claws, because of what they meant. Real violence, no brand, no script. Homelander finally moved. He floated up from the stage with smooth ease, hands behind his back like he was giving a tour. His cape lifted in the wind. The host regained his voice and tried to speak again, but no one listened. Homelander hovered above the second man and looked down. "Hey," Homelander said, voice warm and friendly to the cameras. "This is a private event." The second man didn't look impressed. He kept his eyes on the armed guards, not on the flying man. The red-suited man sat up on the ground below the stage, like a zombie, deciding to be polite. He pressed a hand to his chest. His fingers came away wet, but the hole in his suit was already closing. He stood. "Hold on," he said loudly, stepping back into view. I'm fine. See? Minimal chest hole. I can work with this. We can negotiate." Starlight's breath caught. She had seen healing before. Not like that. Not that fast. Homelander's eyes narrowed. Just a little. The red-suited man pointed at Homelander like he recognized him from a poster. "Oh my God," he said, sounding thrilled. "You're the Superman parody. This is either a nightmare or a really expensive streaming show." Homelander's smile stayed in place. "I'm going to need you both to come with us." The second man lifted his claws higher, warning, "We're not going anywhere." Homelander's head tilted. A tiny crack formed in his perfect calm, and Starlight realized the worst part. These two men did not know who Homelander was, and even if they did, they didn't act scared enough. Homelander drifted down, just a little, as if deciding how hard to be. The red-suited man held up one finger. "Before we do anything, quick question. Do you guys do contracts? Like, do you pay per episode? Because I have requirements." Homelander stared at him. Somewhere behind the plaza, a siren wailed. The crowd ran. Cameras kept rolling. The tear in the sky flickered one last time, then snapped shut like it had never been there. And for the first time in a long time, Homelander looked at something he couldn't explain. Not fear. Not yet. But a tight, angry confusion that promised the world was about to get louder. Starlight's ears rang even after the plaza cleared. Vought moved fast. They always did. A wall of black SUVs rolled in. Tactical teams surrounded the statue. The host was whisked away. The cameras that weren't Vought's were grabbed, smashed, or accidentally dropped. Starlight watched from the edge as the two strangers were funneled into a tighter circle. The red-suited one kept talking, even with guns in his face. "So, we're doing the bag over the head thing? Fine. But if you mess up my mask, I'm sending you the bill. I have a tailor. He's very moody." The clawed man didn't talk. He breathed slow, like he was trying to keep a lid on something hot. His eyes tracked the exits, the rooftops, the angles. He was measuring the world like a battlefield. Homelander landed in front of them and spoke softly, like a father talking to kids who broke a vase. "You two are going to come inside," he said. "We're going to ask questions. We're going to be nice. And then you're going to leave." The red-suited man leaned toward Starlight like she was the only real person in the room. "Hey, Sparkles, you seem like the one with a conscience. Blink twice if this place is a cult." Starlight stiffened. "My name is Starlight." "Cute," he said. The clawed man cut him off without looking. "Don't." "Deadpool." Because that's what he wanted to call himself, Starlight could tell. Spread his hands. "Fine. Mysterious grumpy man wants to keep secrets. Love that for us." Homelander stepped closer to the clawed man. "And you?" The clawed man met Homelander's stare like it was just another stare. "Doesn't matter." Homelander's jaw tightened. He wasn't used to that answer. For a second, Starlight thought Homelander might explode right there. Not with heat vision, with ego. But then he smiled again. "Okay," Homelander said. "Doesn't matter." And with that, Vought did what Vought always did. They took control. Sedation darts flew. The red-suited man got hit twice, yelped, and flopped like a dramatic actor. "Oh no, my one weakness, convenience." Then he stood back up, blinking. "Wait, that's not working. Do you have stronger? Like elephant grade?" More darts, more shots. He kept swaying, but he didn't go down. The clawed man got hit too. He barely flinched. The darts snapped against his skin or sank in and stopped mattering. His healing factor burned through it like fire through paper. A tactical leader barked orders. "Switch to restraints." Heavy metal cuffs came out, chains, shock collars. The clawed man's nostrils flared at the sight of collars. Starlight's hands curled. She hated collars. She hated what they meant. Homelander watched the clawed man's reaction and stored it away. The red-suited one, still oddly cheerful, leaned closer to a Vought medic. "Hey, Doc, you got a clipboard? I need to sign something. I'm a professional." The medic didn't respond. His eyes were on the blood on Deadpool's chest that wouldn't stop moving, closing itself. "Okay," Deadpool said, voice smaller for half a second. "So you're not fans?" "Noted." Homelander finally raised his voice, soft but sharp. "Enough." He moved too fast for cameras to catch cleanly. One moment he was standing. The next, he was behind the clawed man. He grabbed him by the back of the jacket and lifted him off the ground like he weighed nothing. The clawed man's claws flashed up, aiming behind him. Homelander twisted the arm, not breaking it, just making a point. "Inside," Homelander repeated. The clawed man's eyes went hard. Deadpool saw it and threw himself forward, as if the air between them was a rule he could break. "Hey!" Deadpool yelled. "Put my friend down! You can't just—" Homelander didn't look at him. Heat bloomed in his eyes. Starlight stepped forward without thinking. "Homelander." He didn't fire. He didn't need to. The warning was enough. Deadpool stopped mid-step, raised both hands, and spoke quickly. Okay, cool. No lasers. We're cooperating. We're the best cooperators. Right, Mr. Claus?" The clawed man didn't answer. He just stared at Homelander like he was memorizing how to kill him. Starlight felt cold. Homelander carried the clawed man toward the nearest SUV. Deadpool followed, still talking, like talking was the only way he could keep the world from becoming one long scream. "So, question, are you guys like Disney? Because I have notes. Also, I want top billing. Also, I need to make sure the soundtrack slaps." No one laughed. Vought Tower swallowed them whole. High above the city, in the clean, cold part of Vought Tower that most people never saw, the air smelled like bleach and money. The clawed man sat in a reinforced chair behind thick glass. His wrists were locked in heavy cuffs bolted to the chair. They weren't shock cuffs. They were just metal. Heavy. Strong. Simple. Simple was Vought's favorite lie. He didn't pull against them anymore. He already knew the strength in the bolts. He also knew he could tear free if he really needed to, but it would turn into a fight, and a fight would turn into a massacre, and he didn't want that. Not here. Not with strangers. Not yet. He watched the room through the glass. Scientists in lab coats moved around like nervous birds. Cameras sat in corners. A speaker in the ceiling waited to pretend it was a person. He had been captured before. He had been experimented on before. He hated how familiar it felt. In the room beside his, Deadpool paced in circles like a caged dog with too much energy. They had tried to strip his weapons. That part worked. They had tried to strip his mask. That part went badly. The guard who reached for the mask ended up with a broken wrist and a mouthful of threats. Deadpool didn't kill him. He just yelled a lot and demanded a lawyer. Now Deadpool was in a similar glass box, hands-free, because they had learned the hard way that cuffs didn't matter much when you didn't stay hurt. A door opened in the control room. A woman stepped in. Ashley Barrett. Hair perfect. Smile forced. Eyes tired in the way only Vought people got tired. Behind her, Stan Edgar walked in like he owned gravity. He didn't smile. He didn't rush. He didn't act impressed. He looked through the glass at the clawed man. "Remarkable," Ashley said, voice bright like a commercial. "We're just going to ask some questions. Simple, okay? No one wants this to be difficult." The clawed man said nothing. Stan Edgar didn't look at Ashley. "Start with the basics." A scientist cleared his throat and spoke into the ceiling mic, aiming his voice at the clawed man. "Name?" Silence. Ashley tried again, softer. "We can help you. We just need to understand what you are." The clawed man's eyes flicked to Stan Edgar. "What am I?" His voice finally came out, rough and flat. "Tired." Deadpool's voice burst through the other room's speaker at the same time, loud and offended. "Hey, I can hear you guys. Also, I have a name. I'm Wade. Sometimes. Long story. But if you're doing paperwork, spell it right. Ashley jumped a little, then forced a laugh. Okay, Wade, great. See? Progress. Deadpool pressed his face to his glass like a kid at an aquarium. Are you the manager? Because I'd like to speak to the manager. Stan Edgar walked to Deadpool's glass box and looked him up and down. Deadpool's grin widened. Oh, you're the manager, the final boss of HR. Stan Edgar spoke in a calm voice that didn't need to be loud. You arrived in the middle of a Vought event, he said. That suggests either intent or carelessness. Deadpool nodded seriously. I'm going to be honest. It was mostly carelessness. Also, multiverse stuff. Also, your lighting budget is insane. Stan Edgar didn't react. He shifted his gaze to the healing wound on Deadpool's chest, now only a scar in ripped fabric. And you heal, Edgar said. Deadpool puffed out his chest like he was proud, like a champ. Edgar's eyes moved to Deadpool's belt where his guns used to be. You fight. Deadpool shrugged. Like a champ who shouldn't be allowed near sharp objects. Edgar turned slightly so he could also see the clawed man across the hall. And you, Edgar said, voice still even, carry something in your body that should not exist. The clawed man's lips barely moved. Yeah. Ashley tried to keep her tone upbeat. We just want to keep everyone safe. The clawed man's stare was sharp enough to cut glass. Then stop lying. Ashley flinched, but she kept smiling. Like smiling was a job. Stan Edgar gave a small nod. Not approval. Interest. You think you can judge us, Edgar said. You don't even know where you are. Deadpool raised a finger. I do. It's, let me guess, New York, but meaner? Like if New York got sponsored by evil. No one laughed. Deadpool lowered his finger. Okay. Tough room. Across the hall, Starlight stood behind a one-way window with a Vought security agent. She wasn't supposed to be here, but she had insisted. She was one of the 7. That still meant something sometimes. She watched the clawed man sit still, eyes hard, breathing steady. She watched Deadpool bounce like a ball that refused to stop. They were both dangerous, but they didn't feel like Vought. Starlight's mind ran through Vought's playbook. Label, control, sell, or bury. A door opened behind her. Homelander walked in quietly. Starlight didn't turn right away. She felt him like a storm you could hear before it arrived. Homelander leaned close to the window and looked through it at the clawed man. The clawed man lifted his eyes and stared straight back, as if he could see Homelander through the glass. Starlight's skin prickled. Homelander smiled, slow and sweet. Oh, Homelander whispered, you're going to be fun. In a dirty basement on the other side of the city, Billy Butcher watched the same footage on a hacked monitor. The video showed the plaza, the tear in the sky, the red suit, the metal claws, the way bullets didn't solve anything. Huey stood behind him, hands on his head. That's not normal. Frenchie leaned forward, eyes wide with nervous excitement. Mon Dieu, did you see? He healed like nothing. And the other one, the claws are metal. Inside him. Crossed his arms. Vought has done a lot of sick things. This feels like a new level. Kimiko watched in silence. Her eyes didn't blink much. Her gaze stayed on the clawed man's face, like she recognized something there. Not the claws. The sadness behind them. Butcher paused the video on the frame where Homelander's smile faded. Butcher's mouth curled. That, Butcher said, tapping the screen, is the first good thing I've seen in a long time. Huey swallowed. They could be worse than Homelander. Butcher turned his head slowly. Could be. Or they could be the knife we've been needing. Shook his head. People aren't knives. Butcher didn't look away from the screen. In this world, mate, everyone's a tool. Some just don't know it yet. The monitor glitched. A new angle showed Vought Tower entrances tightening with security. Butcher's eyes narrowed. Right, he said. We're going shopping. Frenchie raised a hand. You said no shopping. Butcher glared. Not shopping, hunting. Back in Vought Tower, the scientist team tried approach number 10. Blood sample, a doctor said into the mic, sounding like he wanted to be anywhere else. In Deadpool's room, a panel in the wall slid open. A mechanical arm came out with a needle. Deadpool gasped like he was offended on a spiritual level. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Consent forms first. Also, you want my blood? Fine, but you have to subscribe. The arm stabbed forward anyway. Deadpool jumped back. The needle grazed his shoulder and drew a line of blood. The arm snapped back, needle retracting. Deadpool stared at the tiny cut healing already. He sighed. Okay, he said. Rude, but efficient. I respect it. I hate it. But I respect it. In the Clawed Man's room, they didn't use a mechanical arm. They sent in 2 guards with shields and a medic behind them. The Clawed Man's eyes narrowed. He didn't move. Not yet. The guards advanced. The medic lifted a syringe with shaking hands. The Clawed Man spoke in a low voice. Last chance. The guards didn't stop. The syringe came closer. His claws slid out with that clean sound again. The guards froze. Then one lunged. The Clawed Man moved, fast. His chair groaned as he twisted his body against the cuffs. The cuff bolts held for a second. Then metal screamed. He ripped one arm free, not because he was careless, because he chose the moment. His claws flashed and cut the shield straps. The shield dropped. He shoved the guard back into the other guard. They hit the wall hard and slid down, stunned. The medic stumbled backward, almost dropping the syringe. The Clawed Man didn't chase him. He stayed in the center of the room, breathing heavier now, eyes burning. He held his claws up like a warning sign. Not again, he growled. Not like this. Alarms went off. In the control room, Ashley panicked. Get Homelander! Stan Edgar raised a hand, calm. No. Ashley turned to him, shocked. He's breaking containment! Edgar watched the Clawed Man through the glass like he was watching a chess movie. He is making a statement, Edgar said. Let him. Ashley looked like she wanted to argue. Then she remembered who she worked for. In Deadpool's room, Deadpool pressed his face to the glass and watched the alarm lights flash down the hall. Oh no, he said. He's doing the grumpy murder walk. This is bad for our brand. He slapped his palms on the glass and yelled, Buddy! Hey! Claws! We talked about inside voices! The Clawed Man didn't hear him, or he ignored him. Starlight pushed into the control room despite security. This is wrong, she said, voice tight. You can't treat people like lab animals. Ashley snapped. He's not people, Annie. He's a what? Starlight demanded. Ashley's mouth opened, but no clean word came out. Stan Edgar turned his eyes to Starlight. He is an opportunity, Edgar said simply. Starlight felt sick. Then the building shook. Not from the Clawed Man, from below. A sound like an explosion echoed up the tower. The control screens flickered. A camera feed jumped to a lower floor. Masked men had breached a service entrance. Smoke filled the hall. Vought guards were down. One man in a trench coat walked through the smoke like he belonged there. Billy Butcher. Starlight's heart dropped. Butcher lifted a radio to his mouth, eyes cold. Oi, he muttered. Let's go meet the bloody immortals. The red alarm lights flashed like angry eyes as Butcher moved. Huey followed, trying not to cough. Frenchie carried a bag full of tools and bad ideas. MM covered the rear. Kimiko moved like a shadow. They weren't here to rescue people. They were here to steal a chance. Butcher checked a stolen access card, slapped it to a door, and pushed through. They hit a hallway with glass cells on both sides. Butcher stopped. On the right, a red and black masked man stood at the glass, waving like he was greeting fans. Deadpool's eyes locked onto them. Oh my God, Deadpool said through the glass, hands on his cheeks like he was shocked. Normal people, with guns, and trauma. Hi. Huey blinked. He's talking to us. Deadpool pressed closer. Are you the protagonists? Please say yes. I need to know where to stand for the poster. Butcher stared at him, then at the torn suit, then at the healed wound. Immortal, Butcher said softly. Bloody hell. Deadpool nodded. Yep, that's me. Also, quick question. Do you have a contract? Or are you more like a freelance thing? Because I'm open to offers. Butcher didn't smile. What's your name? Deadpool leaned in conspiratorially. Wade. But I answer to Handsome. Butcher glanced left. The other glass cell showed the clawed man standing with one arm free, claws out, eyes like a storm. Kimiko's gaze softened just a little. Huey swallowed. Butcher, this is insane. Butcher's eyes stayed on the clawed man. Oi! Claws! You want out? The clawed man didn't answer right away. Then, in a voice that sounded like it had been scraped raw by too many years, he said, I want them to stop. Butcher nodded once, like that was the correct answer. Frenchie hurried to Deadpool's cell door panel. I can open. Maybe. If Vought did not, Deadpool pointed at Frenchie. You. I like you. You look like you have a sad backstory and great hair. Frenchie frowned. Thank you? Alarms wailed louder. Footsteps thundered in the distance. More guards. Butcher barked, now! Frenchie jammed tools into the panel. Sparks flew. The lock clicked. Deadpool's door slid open. Deadpool stepped out and stretched like he had been stuck in traffic. Freedom smells like bleach, he said. Classic corporate evil. Huey backed up a step. Deadpool turned and offered a hand like they were meeting at a party. Huey? Deadpool guessed, then blinked. Wait, are you Huey? That's a Huey face. Huey stared. How do you know my... Deadpool leaned closer, whispering, Don't worry about it. You're doing great. Butcher didn't give them time. Frenchie, Butcher snapped. Other one. Frenchie moved to the clawed man's panel. The clawed man watched him work, claws still out, like he was ready to cut anyone who tried something. Frenchie's hands shook a little. I do not want to lose fingers today. The clawed man grunted. Then don't. The panel sparked again. The lock resisted. Vought had built this one tougher. Deadpool looked between them. Hey, could we hurry? I'm starting to get that feeling where the big bad shows up and we... The air at the end of the hall shifted. Every hair on the clawed man's arms rose. Butcher felt it too, even if he didn't understand why. Homelander floated into view, slow and calm, like a shark deciding when to bite. His eyes flicked to Butcher and narrowed. You again. Butcher's jaw clenched. Hello, mate. Homelander's gaze moved to Deadpool. And you? Deadpool lifted a hand. Hi, I would like to file a complaint about your customer service. Homelander ignored him and stared at the clawed man behind the glass. You're breaking my building, Homelander said, voice light. The clawed man bared his teeth. You started it. Homelander smiled wider. Then his eyes glowed. Starlight's voice crackled through a nearby speaker, urgent, panicked. Homelander, stop! There are people! Homelander fired anyway. Heat vision sliced down the hall. Butcher shoved Huey aside. Threw up his arms to shield him. The beam tore through the wall, leaving a glowing cut line. Deadpool moved without thinking. He jumped in front of Huey, took the edge of the blast across his side and screamed in a way that sounded half real and half dramatic. Ah, hot, very hot, that's not PG. His suit smoked. Flesh tried to burn. Then it healed. Fast. Too fast to be normal. Not fast enough to be painless. Homelander paused, surprised. Not at the healing, at the fact Deadpool had jumped in the way. Deadpool panted, then pointed at Homelander. Okay, so you're a laser guy. That's fine, but we need to set boundaries. Homelander's smile faded again. The clawed man slammed his shoulder into the glass from the inside. The glass cracked. Frenchie shouted, "One more!" The clawed man hit it again. The glass spiderwebbed. Homelander's eyes snapped to the cell. His calm slipped. He shot another beam. This time the clawed man didn't wait. He punched through the cracked glass with his claws first, then his arm. The glass broke outward. He stepped through, blood on his knuckles already healing, eyes locked on Homelander. Butcher felt the air change. This wasn't a normal soup. This was a man who had fought monsters and kept walking. Homelander hovered a few feet above the floor, like height alone made him safe. "You're brave," Homelander said. The clawed man's voice was quiet. "No." He took one step forward. "I'm done." Deadpool hustled over beside him, smoking slightly, still recovering, still talking. "Buddy," Deadpool said, voice lower now, more serious under the joke. "We don't know the rules here, but that guy is the rules." The clawed man didn't look away from Homelander. "Then we break them." Homelander's eyes narrowed into something sharp and small. Butcher backed up toward the stairwell, already thinking, if this clawed man could hurt Homelander, even a little. Butcher's heart thumped hard. This was the first time hope felt like a weapon. Homelander darted forward, a blur. The clawed man moved too. Homelander grabbed him by the throat and slammed him into the wall so hard the concrete cracked. The clawed man's head snapped back. Homelander squeezed. Deadpool lunged in from the side and stabbed one of his swords into Homelander's shoulder. The blade snapped. Homelander didn't even flinch. Deadpool blinked. "Oh, okay. So you're the tough kind of Superman parody." Homelander's head turned slowly toward Deadpool. His grip on the clawed man loosened for half a second. That was enough. The clawed man's claws shot forward and slashed across Homelander's chest. Not a deep cut, but a cut. A thin line of red opened on Homelander's suit. A tiny bead of blood appeared. The hallway went silent. Even the alarms felt quieter. Homelander stared down at the blood like it was a personal insult. Then he looked at the clawed man. And for the first time, something true showed on Homelander's face. Anger. Real anger. Not the kind for cameras. The kind that destroys. Butcher grabbed Huey's shoulder and yanked him back. "Move!" MM pulled Frenchie. Kimiko ran without being told. Deadpool grabbed the clawed man's arm. "Okay, new plan. We do not die today. I mean, we can't. But we can still get very, very hurt." The clawed man didn't want to retreat. But the people behind them were fragile. Human. Breakable. He gritted his teeth, then let Deadpool drag him back toward the stairwell. Homelander didn't chase right away. He hovered, staring at his own blood. Then he smiled again. A small, tight smile that meant he had decided something. "Run," Homelander called after them, voice calm as poison. "Run as far as you want." His eyes glowed brighter. "And when I catch you," he said, "I'm going to make sure the whole world watches." They vanished down the stairwell as the heat vision tore through the ceiling where they had been. And as they fell into the lower levels of Vought Tower, the clawed man realized something simple and awful. This world didn't have heroes. It had brands. And brands hated anything they couldn't own. The first place they stopped was a service corridor that smelled like dust and old wires. Butcher slammed the door shut behind them and leaned on it, breathing hard. Deadpool leaned over, hands on his knees, then shot up and pointed at Butcher. "Okay," Deadpool said. "You, trench coat, anger issues, British. You're either the villain or the guy who says we're not so different in the third act." Butcher stared at him. "Who the hell are you?" Deadpool tapped his own chest. "Wade, Deadpool. Sometimes. Depends on branding." The clawed man's claws slid back in. Not because he was calm, because he was choosing control. He looked at Butcher with tired eyes. "Where are we?" Butcher snorted. "Welcome to hell, mate." Huey finally found his voice. We're the boys." Deadpool blinked. "That's the team name? That's bold. Low effort. I respect it." Kimiko stepped closer to the clawed man, studying him. Her gaze went to his hands, then to his eyes. She didn't look scared. She looked like she understood the feeling of being used. The clawed man noticed. His voice softened, just a fraction. "What's your name?" Kimiko didn't answer out loud. She never did. But she held his gaze. Deadpool looked between them and whispered loudly to Huey, "Okay, this is the emotional core. Write it down." Huey's head spun. "We need to get out of here. Vought will—" A loud boom shook the corridor. Homelander, somewhere above, tearing through floors like they were paper. Butcher's eyes went cold. He pointed down the hall. "This way," he said. "If you two can actually bleed him." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. The clawed man's jaw tightened. Deadpool's grin returned, but it was thinner now. "Okay," Deadpool said. "So it's one of those worlds." He rubbed his burnt side like he could still feel it, then straightened up. "Fine," he said. "Let's talk contracts later." And with alarms screaming and the building shaking behind them, the boys ran with two strangers who refused to stay dead, while a god in a cape learned, for the first time, what it felt like to be hurt. The city woke up the next morning like it always did. People went to work. People bought coffee. People complained about trains. And people watched a new clip on their phones again and again, because the clip made their hearts jump. A man in a red and black suit got shot in the chest and stood back up. A man with metal claws stepped through a wall of guns like the guns were just loud toys. And for one sharp second, a thin line of blood showed on Homelander's chest. The clip was shaky. The sound was messy. But the message was clear. Something had happened that Vought did not plan. Vought answered the only way it knew how. With a story. On the morning news, a smiling anchor said it was a terror attack. She said Vought heroes stopped 2 violent, unknown criminals. She said the criminals had illegal body modifications and unknown drugs. A doctor in a lab coat came on next and spoke in calm words about foreign experiments and bio-threats. By lunch, the clip had been edited. The bloodline was gone. The part where Homelander paused was cut out. The clip ended early, with Homelander smiling and the crowd cheering. It was cleaner, safer, fake. The problem was, the internet had already seen the messy version, and Vought couldn't delete every phone in the world. Huey sat on a stained couch in the safe house and stared at the TV. Butcher had it muted. He didn't care what the anchor said. He cared about what people believed. Deadpool sat cross-legged on the floor like a kid at story time, watching with bright interest. He kept pointing at the screen. "Oh, look, they used the flattering angle for the cape guy. And wow, they really cut out the part where he looked confused. That's smart. Evil, but smart." MM stood with his arms crossed. His jaw was tight. "Stop talking like this is a show." Deadpool looked up at him. "It is a show. That's the problem." Wolverine stayed near the back wall, half in shadow, where he could see the exits. He didn't sit. He didn't relax. He watched the room like it might bite him. Frenchie moved around the table with a laptop and wires. "They scrubbed the feeds very fast," he said. "This is Vought. They have a machine for lies." Kimiko leaned on a pillar and watched Wolverine. She didn't speak. She rarely did, but her eyes were loud. Butcher clicked the TV off. The room felt quieter without the anchor's smile. "Right," Butcher said. "Now we talk about what we just dragged into our lives." Deadpool raised both hands like a student. "I would like to speak first." "No," Butcher said. Deadpool lowered his hands. "Okay, fair." Butcher pointed at Wolverine. "You. Metal bones, claws, healing. What are you?" Wolverine's eyes flicked to Butcher's finger, then to Butcher's face. "A bad day." Butcher gave a humorless smile. "Cute. I'm not in the mood." Huey swallowed. He hated this part. He always hated this part. The part where Butcher tried to turn people into weapons. Huey looked at Deadpool instead. "You said your name is Wade." Deadpool nodded. "Wade Wilson." "Deadpool. Sometimes Mr. Wilson, if you're a teacher. I can do that voice if you want." Huey blinked. So, Deadpool is your hero name? Deadpool thought hard. It's more like a brand name that stuck. Long story. Regret. Bad choices. Also, marketing. Frowned. And him? He nodded at Wolverine. Wolverine didn't answer. Deadpool leaned closer to Huey and whispered loud enough for everyone to hear. He's in his mysterious loner era. Wolverine shot him a look that could cut steel. Deadpool lifted a finger. Okay, I will shut up. I won't, but I'll lower volume. Butcher paced once, like a caged animal thinking. You two came out of nowhere. You hurt Homelander. Barely, Huey said before he could stop himself. His voice shook. But you did. Deadpool leaned back on his hands. Yeah, that part was fun. Terrifying, but fun. Wolverine's voice came out low and flat. People got hurt. Deadpool glanced at him. The joke faded for a second. Yeah. Butcher stopped pacing and looked at that small crack in Deadpool's face, like he could smell it. You're not Vought, Butcher said. It was not a question. Deadpool pointed at the cracked ceiling. Do I look like I get dental? Frenchie gave a small snort. Didn't. Butcher leaned forward. Then you're either a miracle or a trap. Wolverine spoke again. What's Vought? Starlight's name wasn't spoken, but the room's tension moved when Wolverine asked that. Butcher's eyes went toward the one door that led deeper into the safe house. Annie wasn't here, but she was always there in Huey's head. Vought, Butcher said, is the reason kids think monsters are heroes. Deadpool raised his hand again. We have that too, by the way. Butcher ignored him. Huey took a breath. He tried to do the thing he always tried to do. He tried to make it human. Vought makes superheroes, Huey said, looking at Deadpool and Wolverine. They own them. They control them. They sell them like soda. Deadpool's mask tilted slightly. That's gross. Wolverine's eyes narrowed. They put collars on people. Frenchie stiffened. Yes. Kimiko's gaze sharpened, and for a moment her fingers curled like she wanted to tear something apart. Wolverine noticed. He didn't stare. He just nodded once, like he understood. Deadpool rocked forward. Okay. So, new universe. New evil company. Same old garbage. Got it. Butcher slammed his palm on the table. The sound made Huey flinch. Here's what I want, Butcher said. I want Homelander dead. I want Vought bleeding. And I want to know if you two are willing to do what it takes. Snapped. No! Butcher didn't look at him. Yes. Stepped forward. We are not using them like that. Butcher finally turned his eyes to cold. We use every chance we get, or we die. Deadpool raised both hands again. Hi. As the new guy, I would like to say, please don't fight about me like I'm a toaster. Huey looked at Deadpool. Do you even understand what you walked into? Deadpool's voice softened. Yeah. Huey blinked. That answer wasn't a joke. Deadpool shrugged. A world where the bad guys wear capes and the good guys hide in basements. I can work with that. I've done worse. Wolverine's eyes stayed on Butcher. You're not good. Butcher's mouth twitched. Never said I was. Wolverine's voice stayed calm, but it had weight. If you hurt people to win, you become the thing you hate. Butcher leaned in. And if you don't hurt the right people, they hurt everyone. Huey felt the room tilt. This was the same argument. Again and again. The same cliff edge. But now the cliff edge had claws. Deadpool slapped his knees and stood up like he was resetting the mood. Okay, he said brightly. Let's do introductions. I'm Wade. I heal. I talk. I have opinions. He pointed at Wolverine, is Mr. Grumpy Murdercat. He heals. He stabs. He pretends he doesn't care. Wolverine growled. Stop calling me that. Deadpool put a hand on his heart. Fine. I'll call you Logan. The room froze. Huey's eyebrows shot up. Logan? Wolverine's eyes went hard. His head snapped toward Deadpool. Deadpool held up both hands fast. Sorry. Slip. That's what you go by. Sometimes. Wolverine stared at him for a long beat, like he was deciding whether to argue or accept that some secrets were already broken. Then he said, "Don't use it." Deadpool nodded once, serious now. Okay. It was small, but it mattered. Huey watched it and felt something shift. These two weren't just strong. They were tied together in a strange way, like brothers who would never admit it. Butcher saw the same thing and smiled without humor. Good, Butcher said. Now we've got names. Frenchie's laptop beeped. He snapped his fingers and leaned closer. We have a problem. On the screen was a live newsfeed. A Vought spokesperson stood behind a podium. Cameras flashed. Police stood nearby like decoration. Behind the spokesperson, a large image filled the screen. A blurry shot of Deadpool and Wolverine in the plaza. Under it, bold letters read, "Wanted. Extreme threat." The spokesperson smiled like the world was safe. "Vought is working with law enforcement," she said, "to capture these dangerous criminals." Deadpool leaned over Frenchie's shoulder. "Hey, they picked a picture where my butt looks flat. That's rude." No one laughed. The spokesperson continued, "These criminals have already attacked our heroes. They are armed. They are unstable. We believe they may be connected to terrorist groups." Huey's stomach twisted. Wolverine's jaw tightened. "They're going to hurt people." MM nodded. "They always do." Butcher's eyes gleamed. "Let them try." Huey spun on him. "No. People will die." Butcher's stare didn't change. People die anyway. Deadpool leaned in between them like he could physically stop the argument. "Okay. Plan meeting. Step 1, don't get caught. Step 2, stop them from hurting people. Step 3, I negotiate my contract." Frenchie sighed. "This is not a joke, monsieur." Deadpool's voice dropped, simple. "I know." And that was the worst part. He knew. In Vought Tower, Stan Edgar watched a different screen. He did not watch the newsfeed. He already knew what it said. He watched the raw camera footage from inside the lab corridor. He watched the claws cut Homelander's suit. He watched the bead of blood. An assistant shifted behind him. "Sir, this is a problem." Edgar didn't blink. "It is a rare asset." Ashley stood nearby, hands trembling around a tablet. "Homelander is furious." Edgar finally looked at her. "Homelander is always furious. The difference is whether we can point him at something useful." Ashley swallowed. "And what if we can't?" Edgar's voice stayed calm. "Then we point something else at the problem." A scientist stepped forward. He held a small vial, sealed and labeled. "From the red one," the scientist said. "We got a sample during extraction attempts." Ashley's eyes widened. "You got his blood?" "We got enough," the scientist said. "It repairs itself. It tries to heal even outside the body." Edgar's gaze narrowed, not with emotion, but with focus. "Good." The scientist hesitated. "But the other one?" Edgar understood. The other one was the real prize. The other one had something inside him that shouldn't exist. Metal fused to bone. A body that had been forced through pain and still walked. Edgar turned to another screen. It showed a list of locations. Warehouses, clinics, rehab centers. Places Vought called harmless. "Find the trail," Edgar said. "Find their human connections. Everyone has them. Even monsters." Ashley tried to keep her voice steady. "What if they don't?" Edgar's eyes didn't leave the screen. "Then we create one." Homelander stood alone in a private room high in the tower. There were no cameras here, no fans, no smiling hosts. He faced a mirror. On his chest, a thin cut line had already closed. The blood was gone, but he could still feel the moment. The surprise, the humiliation. He pressed a finger to the spot like he could erase it from his own skin. His jaw clenched. A knock came at the door. Homelander didn't answer. but the door opened anyway. Ashley stepped in carefully, like she was approaching a dog that might bite. "Homelander," she said softly. "Stan once." Homelander's eyes flicked to her. "No." Ashley's throat bobbed. We're working on a plan." Homelander took one slow step forward. "I am the plan." Ashley forced a shaky smile. "Of course, it's just optics." Homelander's smile returned, but it was empty now. "Optics," he repeated. "Like the way you cut the blood out of the video." Ashley froze. Homelander leaned closer. "Did you think that helped?" Ashley's voice cracked. "It was people. Panic." Homelander's eyes stayed calm and deadly. "People need fear, and those two didn't give it to me." Ashley's hands shook. "We can spin." Homelander's head tilted. "Spin won't fix the feeling." Ashley swallowed hard. "We'll find them." Homelander's smile widened. "No." Ashley blinked. "No?" Homelander turned away from her and looked out the window at the city like it was his toy. "I'll find them," he said. "But first, I'll make them come to me." He tapped the glass lightly. "Everyone has a weakness," he said. "If they don't, we give them one." Ashley backed away, nodding too fast. As she left, Homelander's eyes glowed faintly in the mirror, not from heat, from anger he could barely hold. That night, Huey went outside the safe house to breathe. The air was cold, the street was quiet, the city sounded far away, like a different world. Deadpool followed him out without asking. Huey heard the footsteps and turned, tense, until he saw the red and black suit. Deadpool raised both hands. "No stabbing. Promise." Huey let out a shaky breath. Why are you like this?" Deadpool tilted his head. "Like what?" "Like you're not scared," Huey said. "Like you think you can joke your way through Homelander." Deadpool leaned against the wall and looked up at the dark sky. "I'm scared," he said. Huey blinked. "You are?" Deadpool nodded once. "Yeah, I just do it loud." Huey didn't know what to say to that. Deadpool glanced at Huey, voice lighter again, but not fake. "Also, when you've died a bunch of times, fear gets weird. It's still there. It just doesn't get to drive." Huey stared at his shoes. "I've watched people die. I can't stop seeing it." Deadpool's voice softened. "Yeah, that part sticks." Huey looked up. "Do you even want to be here?" Deadpool opened his mouth like he was about to joke, then stopped. "I didn't choose the portal," he said, "but I can choose what I do next." Huey stared at him, surprised by the simplicity. Deadpool leaned closer, like he was sharing a secret. "And between you and me, your trenchcoat friend is scary." Huey gave a weak laugh despite himself. "Butcher?" Deadpool nodded fast. "Yes. He's like, if anger grew legs." Huey's laugh died quickly. "He's trying." Deadpool's eyes flicked to the safe house door, where Wolverine stood in the dark, watching the street. "He is," Deadpool said. "And Logan is also trying." Huey frowned. "He told you not to call him Logan?" Deadpool shrugged. "Yeah, I'm bad at rules." Wolverine didn't come closer, but Huey saw his shoulders shift, like he had heard every word. Kimiko appeared behind Wolverine like a shadow. She touched Wolverine's arm lightly. Wolverine didn't pull away. Huey noticed. It made his chest ache. Deadpool noticed too, and for once, he didn't say anything. A phone buzzed inside the safe house, then another. Frenchie ran out first, face pale. "We have a message. It is from Vought." Butcher followed, already angry. "Read it." Frenchie held up the phone. A video was playing. A young woman sat in a chair in a bright room. Her hands were tied. A Vought logo sat behind her like a joke. Her eyes were wide with fear. Huey recognized her from nothing. But Deadpool froze. Deadpool's voice dropped. Maya. Huey looked at him. Who is that? Deadpool swallowed. Lab assistant. She tried to help when they were doing the needle thing. The video shifted. A man's voice spoke from off camera, smooth and calm. Return to us, the voice said, and she lives. The camera moved slightly, showing a second chair beside hers. Empty. Waiting. Deadpool's hands clenched. They made her a weakness. Wolverine stepped forward, eyes sharp. They hurt her because of you. Deadpool's voice shook, but he tried to keep it steady. Yeah. Butcher watched Deadpool's face like a man watching a lever that might move a machine. Good, Butcher said quietly. Now you'll do what needs to be done. Snapped, furious. Don't! Butcher didn't flinch. They've drawn the line. We answer. Wolverine's claws slid out halfway, then stopped. Control. Barely. We don't walk into a trap, Wolverine said. Deadpool's voice came out low and sharp. We don't leave her. Butcher smiled, cold. Now we're talking. And in that moment, the safe house changed. This wasn't just about killing Supes anymore. It was about saving a person Vought decided didn't matter. And that was the one thing Wolverine couldn't ignore. The next day, Wolverine did what he always did when the world got too loud. He hunted. He didn't need a satellite. He didn't need a lab. He needed a trail. He stood in the safe house kitchen, nose twitching slightly, eyes half-lidded. Deadpool watched him like he was watching a magic trick. Okay, Deadpool whispered to Huey. This is the part where he sniffs the crime. Huey whispered back, Stop narrating. Deadpool nodded. Right. Sorry. Wolverine moved past them and grabbed the phone Frenchie had used to play the video. He held it close, not to look at the screen, but to smell it. He breathed in once. His eyes opened. There's antiseptic, he said. New paint, rubber, and cold metal. Frenchie blinked. You can smell paint? Wolverine grunted. Yeah. Butcher leaned against the wall. Can you smell where they took her? Wolverine glared at him. Don't talk like she's a thing. Butcher didn't move. Can you? Wolverine's jaw worked. Then he said, Not from this. Deadpool leaned in, trying to be helpful in his own chaotic way. But what if we get closer to the source? Like if we find the place where they shot the video? Wolverine looked at him. That's the trap. Deadpool shrugged. Yeah, but traps can be untrapped. Butcher pointed at Deadpool like he was proud of a dog learning a trick. See, he gets it. Sighed like his soul hurt. I hate all of you. Wolverine turned to Kimiko. You coming? Kimiko didn't hesitate. She nodded once. Huey looked at Wolverine. Wait, you're going now? Wolverine's eyes were flat. They're not going to keep her safe. Deadpool grabbed his swords from the table, even though the swords looked a little bent from being snapped earlier. Cool, Deadpool said. Road trip. Who's driving? Please say not Butcher. Butcher grabbed his coat. I'm driving. Deadpool groaned. Of course. They didn't drive to Vought Tower. Butcher was not that stupid, even on his worst day. They drove to the places Vought hid its dirt. The edges of the city, the quiet industrial blocks, the medical buildings with no signs. Frenchie hacked traffic cameras. Watched rooftops. Butcher checked mirrors. Huey tried not to throw up from stress. Wolverine sat in the back seat with Kimiko. He didn't talk much. He just watched. He listened. He smelled. Deadpool sat in the front and kept making comments like he was forced to fill silence or die. Okay, Deadpool said, pointing at a billboard. That one's definitely Vought. Too shiny. Too happy. Nobody's that happy unless they're lying or on drugs. Butcher grunted. Stop talking. Deadpool nodded. Got it. Silent mode. He lasted 12 seconds. Hey, Wolverine. Wolverine's eyes narrowed. Don't. Deadpool switched. Hey, Logan. Wolverine leaned forward like he might bite him. Deadpool held up both hands. Okay. I deserve that. Kimiko's lips twitched. It wasn't a smile, but it was close. Huey noticed. It made him feel a little better, which made him feel guilty. They reached a stretch of road where the buildings got lower and the lights got dimmer. Wolverine's head lifted. His nostrils flared. There, he said. Butcher slowed. What? Wolverine pointed at a plain building behind a fence. No sign. No windows on the lower level. Security cameras that tried to look like they weren't there. Antiseptic, Wolverine said. Same as the video. Strong. Fresh. Frenchie checked his laptop. This is listed as a wellness center. Snorted. Sure it is. Butcher parked a block away. Masks on. Quiet. Deadpool looked down at his own mask. Already masked. I'm ahead of schedule. Butcher glared. You know what I mean. Wolverine stepped out first. He didn't wait for orders. He didn't wait for permission. He walked toward the fence like the fence was a suggestion. Kimiko followed. Deadpool hopped out and stretched. Okay, team. We go in. We save the hostage. We punch the evil. We leave. Easy. Huey whispered. It's never easy. Deadpool patted Huey's shoulder. That's the spirit. The fence had cameras and a keypad. Vought loved to pretend tech made them safe. Frenchie cut the camera feed. Clipped the wire on the keypad and opened the latch. But Wolverine didn't go through the gate. He put both hands on the fence, and he tore it open. Metal groaned. Bolts snapped. The fence peeled apart like it was cheap foil. Huey stared, mouth open. Oh my God! Deadpool clapped. Yes! Practical effects! Love it! Butcher's eyes gleamed. Bloody hell. They moved fast across the yard. A guard spotted them and reached for his radio. Wolverine was on him in a blink. He didn't stab. He didn't kill. He slammed the guard into the wall with one hand and knocked him out clean. Deadpool leaned close to Huey. He's doing the I'm trying to be better thing. Huey whispered back, Stop narrating. Deadpool whispered, Sorry. Inside, the building smelled like clean lies. White walls, bright lights, quiet hum of machines. A hallway led to doors with keypads and thick locks. Frenchie crouched at a keypad. Give me. Wolverine shoved the door. The door bowed inward. Frenchie stared. Or you can do that. Wolverine's eyes stayed narrow. Less time. They entered a room that made Huey's stomach drop. Beds, straps, IV lines, monitors. People lying still with blank eyes. Not heroes, not villains. Just people. Some had bruises. Some had shaved patches of hair. Some looked like they hadn't seen sunlight in weeks. Kimiko's breathing changed. Her hands trembled. Rage and memory mixed together. Wolverine stepped into the room slowly, like he was stepping into a graveyard. Deadpool's voice went quiet. Oh! Butcher looked around, jaw clenched. For once, he didn't make a joke. He didn't even make a cruel comment. Swallowed hard. This is a factory. Frenchie whispered. They are testing on them. Wolverine's claws slid out, not all the way, but enough to show what he was holding back. Where is she? Wolverine asked, voice low. Deadpool snapped out of it, eyes searching. Maya! A weak voice came from behind a curtain. Help! Huey moved first, pulling the curtain aside. Maya sat on the floor, hands tied, face bruised. She looked up at Deadpool like she couldn't believe he was real. You came, she whispered. Deadpool crouched in front of her fast. Of course I came. I'm contractually obligated. Maya blinked. What? Deadpool cut the ties with a small knife he had hidden in his boot. Joke. Sorry. Bad timing. Maya's eyes filled with tears. They said you wouldn't. Deadpool paused. His head lowered just a little. Yeah, he said softly. They say a lot of stuff. Wolverine turned sharply. He sniffed the air again. Then his head snapped toward the far door. His eyes went hard. "Company," he growled. The lights flickered. A heavy thud sounded from the hallway. Then another. Slow steps. Strong steps. Butcher lifted his gun. Positions. Deadpool stood in front of Maya without thinking, shielding her with his own body. Wolverine stepped forward, claws out fully now. Kimiko moved beside Wolverine like she was part of his shadow. The far door slid open. A tall figure walked in. It wore dark armor, not flashy, not for cameras, practical. Its face was covered with a smooth mask that had no expression. Its shoulders were broad. Its posture was perfect, like a soldier. But what made Huey's blood run cold was the sound. A wet, steady sound of skin fixing itself. The figure's left arm had fresh cuts. They closed as they walked. Deadpool's voice came out flat. "Okay, that's new." Frenchie whispered. "They made a copy." Butcher's eyes narrowed. Or they found a monster of their own. The masked figure stopped in the doorway and tilted its head. A voice came from a speaker in the ceiling, smooth and calm. "Stan Edgar." "Good afternoon," Edgar said. "Thank you for revealing your location." Butcher snarled. "You smug—" Edgar continued like Butcher was a buzzing fly. "Return what you stole, leave the facility, and I will allow some of you to live." Deadpool looked up at the ceiling. "Hi, Mr. Manager. I'd like to file a complaint about your wellness center. It's not very wellness." Edgar didn't answer him. The masked figure stepped forward. Wolverine shifted his stance. Close range, ready to explode forward. Deadpool whispered to Wolverine, "Hey, are we sure it's not just Black Noir? Because this feels very silent murder guy." Wolverine didn't look at him. Not the same. He could smell it now. Something in the masked figure's blood. Compound Vi, and something else. Cold metal in the air. Like a tool. The masked figure moved first. It crossed the room in a blink, faster than a normal human. Straight for Maya. Not for Wolverine, not for Butcher, for the hostage. Because Vought didn't want a clean fight. Vought wanted control. Deadpool threw himself into the path and took the hit. The masked figure's fist slammed into Deadpool's chest and sent him flying into a wall. Drywall cracked. Deadpool slid down, groaning loudly. "Ow! Okay. That's a punch." Wolverine launched. He slammed into the masked figure and drove it backward across the floor. His claws slashed up. The claws cut armor and flesh. The masked figure hissed, just a small sound. But the cuts began to close. Huey's eyes widened. "It's healing." Wolverine's face twisted. "Yeah." Kimiko rushed in from the side and kicked the masked figure's knee hard. The knee bent the wrong way. The figure didn't fall. The knee fixed itself. Kimiko's eyes flashed with rage. Grabbed Maya and pulled her back with Huey, getting her behind a bed. Frenchie pulled out a small device, hands shaking. "I have something for doors, not for this." Butcher aimed at the figure's head and fired. The bullet hit the mask and ricocheted. The masked figure didn't even turn to look at him. Butcher's eyes widened. "What the—" Deadpool pushed himself off the wall, ribs popping back into place under his suit. He wobbled, then steadied. "Okay," Deadpool said. "We've got a tank with healing. That's rude." He drew one of his remaining swords and charged. He stabbed the masked figure in the side. The blade went in. The figure looked down at it slowly, like it was confused. Then it grabbed Deadpool's wrist and twisted. Deadpool screamed. The sword snapped. Deadpool's hand bent the wrong way. He yanked back, ripped free, and his wrist snapped back into place with a sick pop as it healed. He shook it out like it was just annoying. "Gross," he muttered. "I hate that I can feel that." Wolverine drove his claws into the figure's shoulder and tried to pin it. The figure grabbed Wolverine's forearm and squeezed. Wolverine's bones didn't crack, but the pressure was huge. Wolverine's eyes narrowed. Strong. The figure leaned in close, face mask inches from Wolverine's. Then it opened a small slot in its wrist armor. A needle shot out. Wolverine jerked back, but the needle grazed his skin and drew blood. The masked figure's wrist device sucked the blood into a sealed tube before Wolverine could even react. Wolverine's eyes went wide, not with fear, but with fury. "They're taking samples," he snarled. Frenchie shouted, "No!" But it was already done. Edgar's voice came through the speaker again, calm as ice. "Thank you." Deadpool's head snapped up. "Oh, that is so not okay." Wolverine roared, and the sound filled the room like an animal that had been caged too long. He stopped holding back. He slammed his forehead into the masked figure's face mask, cracking it. Then he drove both fists down, claws first, in a brutal cross slash. The armor split. The figure stumbled. Its healing fought to keep up, but Wolverine's claws did damage faster than the body could comfortably pretend it didn't matter. Kimiko grabbed the figure's arm and twisted, using all her strength. She ripped the arm out of its socket. The figure didn't scream. It just regenerated tissue, like it was trying to remember how to be whole. But there was a limit, not a full stop. A limit. Huey watched, shaking. This was not a clean superhero fight. This was two storms, smashing into each other in a small room full of weak people. Butcher shouted, "Move! Get the people out!" MM and Huey started unstrapping patients and dragging them toward the hallway. Some were too weak to walk. Some cried. Some just stared. Deadpool limped over to Maya and crouched beside her. "Hey, can you walk?" Maya nodded, trembling. Deadpool offered his hand. "Then we're leaving, because this place is giving me the creeps, and I've been inside a sentient space whale once." Maya didn't ask. She just grabbed his hand like it was the only solid thing left. Wolverine and Kimiko kept the masked figure busy. Every time it tried to go toward the escaping people, Wolverine got between them. He took hits. He got thrown into walls. He got up again, again, again. Kimiko took a hard punch to the face that would have killed a normal person. She didn't go down. She snapped back up, eyes wild. Deadpool turned back when he heard the impact. For a moment, his jokes vanished. Then he turned to Butcher. "Hey, do you have a plan that isn't hope the immortals do everything?" Butcher snapped, "Keep moving!" Frenchie ran past with a data drive ripped from a computer. "I have files. Proof!" Deadpool pointed at Frenchie. "Yes, steal the evil spreadsheet!" Frenchie glared. "It is not funny." Deadpool nodded. "I know, but it helps." A new sound cut through the chaos. A low whistle. Wolverine's eyes changed. He smelled something else now. Something familiar in the worst way. Another door in the room opened. A second figure walked in, silent, dressed in dark gear. This one moved like a knife. Black Noir. Deadpool's shoulders tensed. "Oh, that guy. Definitely that guy." Noir didn't waste time. He threw a blade. It hit Wolverine in the side of the neck. Wolverine ripped it out, healing already, eyes burning. Noir threw another at Deadpool. Deadpool caught it with his hand, yelped, and shook his hand as the blade slid out and his skin closed. "Stop throwing sharp things at me," Deadpool yelled. "That's my job." Noir moved toward Maya and the escaping patients. Wolverine stepped in his path. Noir stopped, looked at Wolverine's claws, then looked at Wolverine's eyes. Noir didn't show fear. He showed calculation. He attacked. Wolverine met him. Their fight was fast and tight. Noir used angles and tricks. Wolverine used raw toughness and experience. Noir went for joints. Wolverine went for stops. Kimiko slammed into the prototype again, keeping it from following. But the prototype was learning too. It grabbed Kimiko and threw her across the room into equipment. She crashed through a cart. Metal clanged. She sat up, breathing hard. Then she got up again. Edgar's voice came through the speaker, calm and pleased. "Fascinating." Butcher's voice rose, furious. "You sick!" The speaker cut off. The lights dimmed. Then the emergency sprinklers turned on, dumping water from the ceiling like rain. Smoke started pouring in from the hallway. Vought wasn't trying to win clean. They were trying to bury everyone, trap them inside, and pick up what was left. Frenchie coughed. "They will seal the doors." MM hauled a patient over his shoulder. "We go now." Huey grabbed Maya's arm. "This way." Deadpool looked back at Wolverine. Wolverine was locked with Noir, claws flashing. Noir was good. Wolverine was better at surviving. But Wolverine couldn't fight forever in a burning building full of people. Deadpool made a choice. He ran back into the room and shouted, "Log!" Wolverine's eyes snapped to him. Deadpool corrected fast. "Wolverine!" Wolverine's jaw clenched at the name, but he understood what it meant. Deadpool pointed at the hallway. "People first." Wolverine's eyes flicked to the patients being carried out, then back to Noir. Wolverine shoved Noir back hard, just enough to create space. He stepped away from the fight. Noir didn't chase right away. He watched Wolverine retreat, then watched the fleeing group. And he chose the group because Noir was a tool, and Vought's tools did what they were told. Deadpool grabbed a metal tray and flung it at Noir's head. Noir sliced it in half mid-air and kept moving. Deadpool cursed. "Okay, impressive. Hate it." He sprinted after Noir, staying between him and the weakest people. Noir threw another blade. It hit Deadpool's shoulder and pinned him to a wall for a second. Deadpool ripped himself free with a grunt and kept running, bleeding and healing at the same time. Wolverine caught up to the group and took the rear position like a guard dog. He lifted his head, sniffed again. Smoke. Fire. Blood. And underneath it all, the cold, clean smell of Vought's antiseptic. He hated that smell. They burst out a side exit into the yard. The night air hit them like water, but the building behind them was already sealing. Steel doors slid down. A loud alarm screamed. Butcher shoved everyone toward the van. "Go! Go!" The prototype and Noir didn't follow them out. Not because they couldn't, because Vought didn't need them to. Vought had already gotten what it wanted. A sample. Wolverine climbed into the van last, eyes still on the facility. His fists clenched so hard his knuckles went white. Deadpool slammed the van door, panting, half burned, half healed. He pointed a shaking finger at the building. Okay. New rule. We burn that place down later." Butcher started the engine. "Later, mate. We've got bigger problems now." Frenchie held up the data drive, water dripping from his hair. "This is proof. If we can show the world—" Butcher's laugh was sharp. "The world doesn't care about proof. It cares about stories." Huey hugged Maya in the back seat as she shook, eyes wide. Maya whispered, "They'll come for me again." Deadpool reached back and squeezed her hand once. "Yeah," Deadpool said softly. "They will." Wolverine stared out the window, voice low and dangerous. "And when they do," he said, "we'll be waiting." Butcher glanced at Wolverine in the mirror, a dark smile forming. He didn't like heroes. He didn't trust miracles. But he trusted one thing. A man who had been used before and decided he was done being used. As the van tore through the night, Vought's facility shrank behind them. Inside that building, a small sealed tube of blood sat in a cold case. And somewhere high in Vought Tower, Stan Edgar looked at a report and allowed himself a tiny, silent satisfaction. The outsiders weren't just a problem. They were the future. And Vought had just taken the first piece. 2 weeks passed, but the city did not calm down. Vought filled every screen with the same message. The strangers were dangerous. The strangers were terrorists. The strangers were the reason you should be scared, and the reason you should be grateful Vought existed. It worked on some people. It didn't work on the ones who had seen the raw clips before Vought cleaned them. Those people whispered different things. They whispered that Homelander bled. They whispered that Vought was hiding a secret hospital. They whispered about a red man who wouldn't stay dead, and a quiet man, with claws, who stood between guns and scared people. Vought hated whispers. Whispers made cracks, and cracks made people ask questions. So Vought did what it always did. It made a bigger show. In the safe house, life turned into a routine that felt wrong because it was almost normal. Huey woke up to check locks and cameras. Ran drills and kept everyone on rules. Frenchie slept in strange places and worked on devices that smelled like metal and stress. Kimiko moved through rooms like she belonged in the shadows, but she laughed more than before, just little bursts that vanished fast. Deadpool tried to live like it was a sitcom. He made coffee and called it craft services. He rearranged chairs like it was a set. He wrote Episode 5, Basement Drama, on a piece of paper and taped it to the fridge. Tore it down every day. Deadpool put it back every day. Wolverine watched all of it with tired eyes and said nothing. He trained in the empty room next to the boiler. He did push-ups until the floor creaked. He sharpened his senses the way other people sharpened knives. He kept his back to walls. He kept his hands empty, unless he needed them not to be. Kimiko sometimes joined him, not for push-ups, for quiet. They would stand in the same room and breathe the same air, and it helped in a way no one explained. Butcher didn't like quiet. Butcher liked motion. Butcher liked pressure. Butcher liked plans that ended with someone screaming. He watched Wolverine train like a man watching a lock get tested. He watched Deadpool joke like a man watching a bomb tick. He wanted both of them aimed at Homelander like bullets. And bullets were meant to be fired. One evening, Frenchie called everyone to the table. He dropped the stolen data drive on the wood like it was a dirty tooth. "This is it," he said. "The files, the names, the dates, the videos, the patients, everything." Huey leaned in. His throat felt tight. "We can show it." Nodded slowly. "We should." Starlight wasn't in the room, but she was on a burner phone Frenchie had set up. Her voice came through the speaker, low and tense. "If you push it the wrong way," she warned, "Vought will bury it. They will call it fake. They will turn it into a joke." Butcher's mouth curled. "Then we push it the right way." Deadpool raised his hand like a student. "I have a question." Butcher didn't even look at him. "No." Deadpool lowered his hand anyway. "Okay, I'll ask it without permission. What's the plan that doesn't get a bunch of normal people killed?" Butcher's eyes finally flicked to him. "We are already in a war." Deadpool pointed at the ceiling. "War has rules. Even evil movies have rules." Butcher stepped closer, voice sharp. "You don't know this world." Deadpool's voice stayed light, but his eyes got harder. "I know what cages smell like. I know what labs do. That's enough." Wolverine spoke from the corner without turning his head. "What's the plan, Butcher?" Butcher smiled like he had been waiting for that. He slid a folder across the table. Inside were printouts from the drive, diagrams, notes, a list of chemicals, a list of doses. Huey's stomach dropped. "No." Frenchie's face went pale. You looked at this already." Butcher tapped a page. "They've got their own little recipe in there. Vought's been trying to make something that sticks, something that spreads, something that ends problems." MM's voice rose. "That's a disease." Butcher didn't blink. "Call it what you like." Wolverine pushed off the wall and walked to the table. His eyes moved over the pages. He didn't read like a scientist. He read like a man who had seen enough death to recognize it wearing different clothes. "You use this," Wolverine said, voice low, "and it won't stop where you want." Butcher leaned in, almost nose to nose, "And if we don't, Homelander keeps hurting people forever." Wolverine's jaw tightened. "Then you kill him. Not everyone." Butcher's grin showed teeth. "That's why I want you." Deadpool stared at the papers, then at Butcher. "You are trying to build a wipe the board button." Butcher's eyes stayed cold. "I'm trying to win." Huey slammed his hands on the table. "That's not winning!" Silence hit hard. Even Deadpool stopped moving for a second. Huey's voice shook. "We're supposed to be different than them. If we do this, we become Vought." Butcher's face didn't soften. "Vought is already doing it, Huey." Starlight's voice crackled through the phone. "He's right about one thing," she said. "They're working on something bigger. I've seen it. It's moving upstairs. It's becoming official." Frenchie rubbed his eyes. "Then we must act now. But not like this." Butcher's gaze snapped to Frenchie. "You don't get a vote." MM stood up. "Yes, he does." Kimiko stepped closer too, eyes sharp. No words, but the message was clear. "Not this." Wolverine's voice cut through the room like a blade. "Drop it." Butcher looked at him. "Or what?" Wolverine's claws slid out with that clean sound. "Not all the way. Just enough." The room went still. Deadpool lifted his hand slowly. "Okay, everybody. Let's all lower the murder energy." Butcher didn't flinch. He leaned even closer to Wolverine, like he wanted to see if the monster would bite. Wolverine's eyes didn't move. "You use that," he said, nodding at the folder, "and I stop you." Butcher's smile thinned. "You'd side with Vought?" Wolverine's voice stayed steady. "I side with kids who didn't ask for this." Butcher held Wolverine's stare for a long beat. Then he scoffed and backed away like he was bored. "Fine," Butcher said. "We do it your way. We kill the right people." Deadpool clapped once. "Cool. Right people. Love that vague language." Butcher ignored him and grabbed his coat. "Meeting's over," Butcher said. "We're going hunting." The next day, the offer came. Not through a phone, not through a screen. Through a man in a suit who walked into a room like he owned it. Frenchie had built alarms on every door and window, but this wasn't a normal break-in. The safe house lights flickered once, just once. Then a quiet knock hit the front door. MM raised his gun. Huey's hands went cold. Kimiko moved without sound. Deadpool leaned toward Wolverine. "Is it Dracula?" "Please say it's Dracula." Wolverine's nostrils flared. His eyes narrowed. "No!" Butcher opened the door anyway, like he didn't care about fear. Stan Edgar stood on the other side with 2 bodyguards and a calm face. He didn't look surprised to find them. He didn't look angry. He looked like he had arrived for a business appointment. Butcher's jaw clenched. "You've got balls." Edgar's eyes flicked over the room. He noticed the weapons, the holes patched in walls, the tension like a wire. "I have leverage," Edgar said. Deadpool leaned into view behind Butcher. "Hi, Mr. Manager. I'd like to revisit my contract negotiation." Edgar's gaze moved to Deadpool, like he was noticing a product on a shelf. "Wade." Deadpool froze for half a second. "Okay. Weird. How do you know that?" Edgar didn't answer the question. He stepped inside like he had been invited. "My time is limited," Edgar said, "so I will be direct." Wolverine's claws slid out an inch, then stopped. He stood near the back, still and dangerous. Edgar glanced at him, then focused on Deadpool again. "You are wasting yourself," Edgar said. "You are hiding in a basement with criminals." Deadpool pointed at Huey. "He's not a criminal. He's like a sad puppy with courage." Huey's mouth opened. "Hey," Edgar continued, "you could have resources, medical support, equipment, clean identity, stability." Deadpool's laugh came out sharp. "Stability. From you." Edgar's voice stayed calm. "From the company that controls this world." Butcher stepped closer. "And what's the price?" Edgar didn't look at Butcher. "Not you." Butcher's face twitched. Edgar's eyes stayed on Deadpool. "We can give you what you pretend you don't want." Deadpool's head tilted. "And what's that?" Edgar's voice lowered just slightly. "A place where you belong. A story you control. A life that isn't just pain and jokes." Deadpool went very still. The room felt different. Huey noticed it. Even Wolverine noticed it. For a second, Deadpool's mask looked less like a mask and more like a wall. Deadpool's voice came out quieter. "You think you can buy me with a trailer and a dental plan?" Edgar nodded once. "Yes." Deadpool stared at him, then asked a simple question. "Do you hurt kids?" Edgar didn't blink. "We manage risk." Deadpool's voice sharpened. "That's not an answer." Edgar's tone didn't change. "It is the only answer that matters." Deadpool stepped closer, and the joking energy did not return. "I have done bad things," Deadpool said. "I know what I am, but I'm not yours." Edgar's eyes narrowed a fraction. "Everything is owned by someone." Deadpool shook his head. "Not me." Edgar held Deadpool's gaze, then looked past him toward Wolverine. "And you," Edgar said. "You were made. You were shaped. You were forced. That makes you predictable." Wolverine's voice rumbled. "Try me." Edgar gave a small, almost polite nod. "I already have." He turned back to Deadpool. "If you refuse, then we proceed with containment, extraction, replication." Deadpool's hands clenched. "You already did." Edgar's eyes flicked downward, like he was acknowledging the blood sample without saying it out loud. "A partial sample is better than none. We will improve." Wolverine took one step forward. The floor creaked. Edgar's bodyguards tensed. But Edgar didn't flinch. "You can kill me," Edgar said calmly, "and nothing changes. The machine continues." Butcher's gun lifted a little. "Don't tempt me." Edgar finally looked at Butcher. "You are not the decision maker." Then he looked at Deadpool again. "This is my final offer," Edgar said. "Come willingly. Become something useful. Or be hunted until there is nothing left but pieces." Deadpool stared at him for a long beat. Then Deadpool smiled. Not his normal silly smile. A sharp one. "Okay," Deadpool said. "Counteroffer." Edgar waited. Deadpool leaned in like he was sharing a secret. "You leave the people you grabbed alone," Deadpool said. "You shut down your wellness centers. You stop making copies of us. And you tell your flying laser friend to stop threatening civilians." Edgar's eyes stayed calm. "No." Deadpool nodded like he expected it. "Cool," Deadpool said. "Then here's my response." He lifted his hand and flipped Edgar off. Edgar didn't react. He just turned toward the door. As he walked out, he spoke without looking back. "Homelander wanted to come," Edgar said. "I told him this was wiser." Wolverine's eyes narrowed. "He's coming anyway." Edgar paused at the threshold. "Yes." He stepped outside, and the safe house lights flickered again, like the building itself knew it had been seen. That night, the second offer came. Not from Edgar, from Homelander. It came as a live broadcast. Vought took over every channel at once. Every phone lit up. Every screen in every bar, store, and living room changed. A bright stage appeared on screen. Cameras, lights, a smiling Vought host, and behind them, a fenced display like a cage. Inside the cage were 3 people. 2 men, 1 woman. One of them was Maya. Huey's breath caught. "No!" Deadpool's body went rigid. The jokes died in his throat. The host smiled like it was a charity event. "Tonight," the host said, "we reveal the truth about the terrorists who attacked our heroes." The camera cut. Homelander stepped into frame, smiling wide. He looked straight into the lens, like he was looking straight into Deadpool and Wolverine. "Hello," Homelander said softly. "I know you're watching." Wolverine's fists clenched. Homelander continued. "You think you're special because bullets don't stop you. You think you're brave because you don't fear me." He walked closer to the cage. The host backed away. "These people," Homelander said, tapping the bars, "were helping you, hiding you, supporting you." Maya's eyes were wet. She shook her head slightly, begging without words. Deadpool took a step forward like the screen was a door he could punch through. Homelander smiled at the cage like it was a gift. "Here's my offer," Homelander said. "Come to Vought Tower. On camera. Live. You surrender." He leaned close to the bars and lowered his voice. "And if you don't," he said, "I start pulling them apart one by one until you do." Huey's voice cracked. "He's going to—" MM's jaw was tight. "He wants them to rush in." Butcher's eyes were bright with a dark kind of excitement. "That's fine." Wolverine turned slowly toward Butcher. "No." Butcher lifted his hands. "We were going anyway." Deadpool's voice was low and flat. "We're going." Huey grabbed Deadpool's arm. Wait, we need a plan. We can't just walk into Vought Tower." Deadpool looked at him. "He's going to kill her." Huey swallowed. "I know. But—" Deadpool's voice rose suddenly, sharp with fear he couldn't hide. "Then help me." Silence hit hard again. Wolverine stepped beside Deadpool, solid and quiet. "We plan," Wolverine said. "Fast, clean. People first." Butcher smiled. "Now you're speaking my language." Wolverine's eyes narrowed. "Not yours." Starlight's voice came through the burner phone again, fast and urgent. "I can help," she said. "I can get you a window. Cameras off, one corridor open. But once you're inside, it's chaos." Frenchie was already moving, pulling out devices, checking wires. "I can jam signals. I can blind some cameras for seconds." MM looked at Huey. "You're with me. We get the hostages out. That's the goal." Huey nodded, shaking. "Okay." Butcher loaded a gun, like he was loading a prayer. "Right," Butcher said. "We go in through the back. We hit them on their own stage. We make them bleed where everyone can see." Deadpool stared at the screen where Homelander smiled. Then he looked at Wolverine. "No more running?" Deadpool asked, voice small under the mask. Wolverine's answer was simple. "No." They reached Vought Tower before the broadcast ended. The city around it was locked down. Police barriers, Vought security, floodlights, drones. To the public, it looked like safety. To the boys, it looked like a cage built around a stage. Starlight's access got them into a service tunnel beneath the tower. The air smelled like concrete and old water. Wolverine walked first, silent, every sense open. Deadpool followed, bouncing less than usual. Huey carried a small bag Frenchie had handed him, hands shaking around it. He didn't fully know what was inside. He only knew it could buy them seconds. Seconds mattered. Above them, the broadcast rolled on. Homelander talked. The host smiled. The crowd outside cheered like they were watching a concert. Starlight's voice came in through the earpiece. "Now," she whispered, "you have 90 seconds before the corridor cameras come back." Frenchie tapped a button. Somewhere above, screens blinked. They moved. They hit a stairwell, then a maintenance hall, then a locked door. Wolverine didn't wait. He drove his shoulder into it. The door bent. He hit it again. It burst open. They spilled into a back corridor behind the main stage. The sound of the crowd hit them like a wave, cheering, chanting, phones held up like candles. Deadpool's head turned slightly as if he could feel all those eyes waiting. "Okay," Deadpool whispered. "This is the part where the audience screams." Butcher shoved him forward. "Quit whispering and move." They rounded a corner and stopped, because Vought had learned. A figure stood in the hall like a wall. Black armor, smooth mask, silent posture, black noir. And beside noir stood something worse. A second masked figure, taller, heavier, shoulders squared like a machine. The prototype. Its arm looked newer now, its armor cleaner, its movement smoother. Its wrist device was visible, and on it were small sealed tubes like trophies. Wolverine's eyes went red with rage. Deadpool's voice went cold. "They upgraded!" Noir moved first, sprinting toward Huey and MM. He didn't care about the strongest, he cared about the weakest. Kimiko met him. She hit Noir hard enough to smash him into the wall. Noir snapped back up instantly and struck at her throat. Kimiko caught his wrist and twisted. Noir spun out, fast and sharp, fighting like a trained blade. Wolverine launched at the prototype. The prototype met him head-on. They collided with a loud crack. The wall dented behind them. Wolverine slashed. The claws cut armor. They cut flesh. The prototype grabbed Wolverine's forearm and squeezed, trying to pin the claws away. Wolverine's bones didn't break. The prototype's grip tightened anyway. Deadpool darted in from the side and stabbed the prototype in the ribs with a stolen Vought baton. It snapped. Deadpool sighed. Everything breaks in this world. The prototype's fist slammed into Deadpool's stomach and sent him flying down the hall. Deadpool hit the floor, rolled and popped back up, groaning. "Okay," Deadpool wheezed. "That one's on me." Butcher didn't help. He didn't try to. He ran past the fight with Huey and MM, pushing toward the stage. "Hostages!" MM shouted, hauling Huey forward. "Don't lose focus!" Wolverine heard it. He didn't like it, but he did it. He shifted his body to block the prototype's path when it tried to push past him. "No!" Wolverine growled. "You don't!" He drove his claws into the prototype's shoulder, pinning it to the wall. The prototype jerked, healing and ripping itself free inch by inch, trying to move anyway. It wasn't just strong. It was built for one job. Stop the monsters. Take the sample. Deadpool limped back into the fight and slammed both swords into the prototype's back. They sank in. The prototype turned slowly like it was annoyed. Deadpool leaned close to its mask. "Listen, copycat. I don't know who you are, but I'm going to need you to back off my friends, okay?" The prototype headbutted him. Deadpool staggered back, face mask almost slipping, then steadied. Wolverine finally found the opening. He shoved the prototype hard, then slashed up across the wrist device. Metal tore, tubes shattered, blood sprayed in a thin line across the floor. The prototype hesitated for the first time, like it had lost its prize. Wolverine's eyes burned. Good. Deadpool stared at Wolverine like he was seeing him in full now. Then Deadpool nodded once, like he agreed with the message. They couldn't stop the machine tonight. But they could break parts of it. Kimiko and Noir crashed through a door into a side room, still fighting like shadows with knives. Huey heard the crowd roar louder. They were close to the stage. Starlight's voice came in, frantic. "They're about to do it," she said. "Homelander is moving to the cage." Huey's blood turned to ice. MM shoved Huey forward. "Go!" They burst out behind a curtain at the edge of the stage. The lights were blinding. The crowd screamed. Phones lifted. People started chanting Homelander's name. Homelander stood at center stage, smiling wide. The cage sat behind him. Maya stood inside, shaking, eyes locked on the curtain where MM and Huey had just appeared. Homelander's head turned slightly, like he had smelled them. His smile widened. "Ah," he said into the microphone. "There you are." Butcher stepped out first. The crowd gasped. Some booed. Some cheered, not knowing why. Butcher didn't care. He raised his gun and shouted, loud enough for the microphones to catch it. "This is your hero?" Butcher yelled. "This is your god?" Homelander laughed softly. "Hello, Billy." The crowd roared again. Homelander turned toward the cage and rested his hand on the bars. "You're late," Homelander said, eyes shining. Deadpool and Wolverine burst out onto the stage from the side like they were thrown into a spotlight. The crowd screamed. Deadpool lifted his hands like he was greeting them, even now. "Hi, everybody," Deadpool called. "Please like and subscribe." Then his voice dropped as he saw Maya. His body shifted in front of Wolverine without thinking. Wolverine's eyes locked on the cage. He didn't see the crowd. He didn't see the cameras. He saw the fear. Homelander watched them both with bright interest. "You came," Homelander said softly. "Good boys." Wolverine took one step forward. "Let them go." Homelander's smile stayed. "No." Deadpool stepped forward too, voice steady now. Okay, counteroffer. You let them go, and I don't turn this into an embarrassment for you. The crowd laughed, because they thought it was a joke. Homelander didn't. He looked at Deadpool like he was a bug that had talked. You don't get to threaten me, Homelander said. Deadpool shrugged. I do, when you can't shut me up. Homelander's eyes glowed. Wolverine moved instantly. He launched at Homelander like a bullet. Homelander caught him mid-air by the throat and slammed him into the stage floor hard enough to crack it. Wolverine's back hit wood and steel. Pain flashed. He didn't stop. His claws shot up and slashed across Homelander's arm. A thin cut opened. Blood appeared again. The crowd went silent in a strange way, like their brains couldn't accept what their eyes were seeing. Homelander's face twisted. He threw Wolverine across the stage like a rag doll. Wolverine hit the cage bars, denting them, then rolled to his feet and came back anyway. Again. Deadpool rushed the cage, not to attack Homelander, to get Maya out. MM and Huey sprinted too, sliding behind the cage where the locks were. Frenchie's voice crackled in Huey's ear. The lock is electric. You must. Huey pulled out the device from his bag, hands shaking, and slapped it onto the lock. It beeped. The lock sparked. The cage door clicked. Maya stumbled out, crying. Huey grabbed her and pulled her behind the curtain. MM covered them with his body like a shield. Homelander saw it and snarled. He fired heat vision toward the escaping hostages. Deadpool jumped in front of the beam again, taking it across his shoulder and chest. His suit burned. His skin cooked. He screamed. Then he didn't stop moving. He staggered, heeled, and stood tall between Homelander and the cage door like a stubborn wall. Hey! Deadpool shouted, voice raw. No hurting interns! Homelander's eyes widened, not in fear, but in furious disbelief. Stop! Homelander hissed. Stop acting like you matter. Deadpool shook his head. I do, and they do. Wolverine slammed into Homelander again, claws aiming for places that didn't kill, but did hurt. Homelander grabbed Wolverine's wrists, holding the claws away from his face. He lifted Wolverine off the ground and leaned in close, voice low enough that only Wolverine could hear. You think you're brave, Homelander whispered. You're just broken. Wolverine's eyes stayed hard. Maybe. Then Wolverine drove his forehead into Homelander's nose. Homelander jerked back, shocked more by the disrespect than the pain. Wolverine ripped one arm free and slashed across Homelander's chest again. This time the cut was longer, not deep enough to kill. Deep enough to show red clearly under bright lights, under perfect cameras. The crowd screamed. Phones captured it. Too many phones, too many angles, too much live signal. Vought couldn't erase all of it fast enough. Homelander froze for a fraction of a second. Not because he was weak, because he understood what had just happened. His image cracked. And in this world, image was power. Butcher saw it too. He lifted his gun at the cameras, not at Homelander. Look! Butcher shouted. Look at your hero bleeding! Homelander's eyes snapped to Butcher. Rage flooded his face. He flew at Butcher like a missile. Deadpool moved to block him, but Homelander swatted him aside without even slowing down. Wolverine tried to intercept, but Homelander slammed him down again. Homelander reached Butcher and grabbed him by the collar, lifting him one-handed. The crowd screamed louder. Homelander smiled at the cameras, trying to reclaim the moment. See, he said, voice smooth again. This is what happens to... A flash of light hit him from the side. Starlight stepped onto the stage. Not smiling, not posing, just angry and real. Her blast didn't hurt Homelander much, but it shoved his head, broke his line, broke his speech. The crowd gasped again. Homelander stared at her like he couldn't believe she existed as a person. Annie, he said softly. No. Starlight's eyes burned. Yes. Behind the curtain, Huey got Maya and the other hostages moving. MM covered them. Frenchie and Kimiko pulled Noir off their trail, dragging the fight away from the main exit. The stage was chaos now, not a show. Homelander's eyes glowed again, not for the crowd now, but for punishment. Wolverine forced himself up, body aching, healing working, rage held tight enough to aim it. Deadpool crawled back to his feet, smoking, breathing hard. He looked at the crowd. He looked at the cameras. Then he looked at Homelander. Deadpool lifted a finger and pointed straight at the main live camera. "Hey," Deadpool said loudly, voice cracking but clear. "If you're watching at home, here's the truth." Homelander's head snapped toward him. Deadpool didn't stop. "Vought is lying," Deadpool said. "They hurt people in secret. They trap them. They test on them. And this guy," he pointed at Homelander, "is not a hero. He's a bully with a cape." Homelander's heat vision fired. Deadpool dropped just in time. The beam sliced the camera in half. The big screen behind them went black. The crowd screamed and surged backward, but phones were still filming, and Deadpool had said it out loud. Simple words. Easy words. Words even a kid could understand. Vought couldn't unsay them. Homelander turned toward Deadpool, shaking with anger. Wolverine stepped between them. Claws out. "No," Wolverine said. Homelander laughed, breath shaky. "You can't stop me." Wolverine's eyes didn't blink. "Try." For a moment, the two of them stood under broken lights and screaming fans, and the whole city felt like it was holding its breath. Then the prototype appeared at the edge of the stage again, climbing up through a side entrance, mask tilted. It didn't care about the crowd. It cared about Wolverine. It raised its wrist device, newly repaired, needle ready. Wolverine's eyes flashed. He understood the real game now. Vought didn't need to win tonight. It needed more samples. Homelander saw the prototype and snarled, annoyed that anything else existed in his moment. But Edgar's machine didn't obey feelings. The prototype lunged for Wolverine. Deadpool lunged too, tackling it from the side. They rolled off the stage into the equipment area. The prototype punched Deadpool hard. Deadpool bounced back up anyway and grabbed the wrist device with both hands. "Not today!" Deadpool yelled. He ripped. The device tore away, wires snapping. The prototype slammed him into a crate, trying to crush him. Deadpool's body cracked. Deadpool healed. Deadpool kept holding on. Wolverine dropped from the stage and joined, driving his claws into the prototype's knee and pinning it. The prototype thrashed, healing fighting, armor grinding, but it couldn't grab a sample if it couldn't reach a vein. Kimiko appeared, bloody but standing, and kicked the prototype's head sideways with clean rage. Noir pulled her back into the shadows, the fight continuing away from the crowd. Above them, Homelander hovered again, watching Wolverine and Deadpool tear apart Vought's tool. The red line on his chest still showed. His eyes burned with hate. Starlight stood on the stage, breathing hard, trying to keep him focused away from the escaping hostages. "Let them go," she said. Homelander's smile twitched. "You're choosing them." Starlight's voice shook, but she didn't step back. "I'm choosing people." Homelander stared at her like she had betrayed the sun. Then he looked toward the exits where MM and Huey had run with Maya. He started to move. Wolverine saw it. He jumped back onto the stage, fast, and slashed across Homelander's cape. The fabric tore. Not a big thing, but a loud thing. Homelander froze mid-air and stared at the torn cape like Wolverine had slapped him. Wolverine stood under him, chest rising, claws out, eyes locked. "You want me?" Wolverine growled. "Fine." Homelander's face twisted. He dove. Wolverine met him. They crashed into the stage again, ripping wood, cracking metal. Homelander hit harder. Wolverine refused to stay down. Wolverine's claws scratched, cut, and made small lines of red appear again and again. Not because Wolverine was stronger than Homelander. Because Wolverine was built to keep going, and because his claws were something Homelander did not get to ignore. The crowd screamed. People ran. Phones still filmed until security started smashing them. But the live moment had already slipped into the world. Homelander felt it. He felt the loss of control like a hand on his throat. He didn't back down. He changed tactics. He grabbed Wolverine, lifted him high, and shot upward through the broken stage roof, dragging him into the night sky where no one could see clearly. Wolverine's body slammed through beams. He didn't black out. He didn't let go. Starlight shouted, "No!" Deadpool watched them vanish into the sky. His chest rose and fell fast. He looked at Butcher. "Hostages got out?" Butcher's eyes were wild. "Huey's moving!" Deadpool nodded. "Then we leave." Butcher sneered. "We could finish it." Deadpool stepped close, voice sharp. "We can't finish a god in the sky while your people are still alive on the ground." Butcher's jaw tightened. He hated the truth. Deadpool grabbed Butcher's coat and shoved him toward the exit. "Move!" Deadpool yelled. "You can be angry later." Frenchie limped in, clutching his side. "The tunnels are closing." MM's voice came through the earpiece. "We're out. We have them. Hurry!" Deadpool ran with them. Not because he was scared of dying, because he was scared of failing. Above the tower, Homelander finally stopped climbing and hovered in the clouds. He held Wolverine by the throat. Wolverine's feet kicked in empty air. Homelander's face was close, eyes glowing like hot coals. "You hurt me," Homelander hissed. Wolverine's voice came out rough. "Good." Homelander squeezed harder. Wolverine's vision blurred at the edges. Then, Wolverine's claws slid out and stabbed into Homelander's forearm. Homelander jerked, snarling. Wolverine used that moment to twist his body and rake claws across Homelander's side. A deeper cut. A real line. More blood. Homelander roared, not in pain, but in insult. He threw Wolverine downward like a meteor. Wolverine fell fast. He hit the rooftop of a lower building with a heavy crash, bending metal. He lay still for half a second. Then he sat up. His bones popped back into place. His skin closed. His breathing steadied. He looked up at the sky. Homelander hovered far above, watching him like a hateful star. Homelander didn't descend again. Not because he couldn't. Because the world below was already a mess, and his blood was already on too many screens. He hated the mess more than he hated the fight. Homelander turned and shot back toward Vought Tower, a blur of rage and control. Wolverine stood, wiping blood from his lip that was already healing. He didn't smile, but he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. A direction. He jumped down from the rooftop and vanished into the night, following the scent trail back to the others. And behind him, the city kept shaking from the echo of what people had seen. Not a hero saving the day. A hero bleeding. By morning, Vought was trying to tape the world back together. They called it a terrorist stunt. They called the blood fake. They called Starlight confused and under stress. They called the strangers actors with special effects. But it didn't land cleanly. Too many people had seen it live. Too many people had saved their own clips. And some of the patients from the facility, weak, scared, and finally free, had started to talk. Vought could still crush them one by one. But crushing them all was harder when the story had escaped. In the safe house, Maya sat wrapped in a blanket, shaking but alive. Huey sat beside her, hands trembling too. MM stood guard at the door like he had become a wall. Frenchie cleaned a wound and muttered curses in French. Kimiko sat near Wolverine and offered him a bandage he didn't need. Wolverine took it anyway and wrapped it around his knuckles out of habit. Deadpool limped in last, more torn suit than fabric, but standing. He closed the door and leaned against it, breathing hard. Butcher stood by the table, staring at a phone full of clips. He looked almost happy. "This is it," Butcher said softly. "We finally cracked the crown." Wolverine's voice cut through the room. "Don't." Butcher turned. "Don't what?" "Don't think this ends it," Wolverine said. Butcher's smile faded a little. Deadpool pushed off the door and walked to the center of the room. He looked at everyone. He looked at Maya. He looked at Huey. Then he looked at Butcher. "No more wipe the board plan," Deadpool said. Butcher's eyes narrowed. "You don't get to—" Deadpool raised a hand. Not joking. Not asking. "Listen," Deadpool said. "I know you want revenge. I get it. I have a whole scrapbook of revenge. But your plan? It hurts the wrong people." Butcher scoffed. "And your plan is what? Jokes?" Deadpool's voice stayed steady. "My plan is this." He pointed at Maya. "People," Deadpool said. "People first." Wolverine nodded once. Kimiko's eyes softened. Huey swallowed hard, feeling the weight of it. Butcher's jaw clenched like he was chewing glass. Then he looked away, because for a second, he didn't have a cruel answer. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. The world was still moving, still dangerous, still full of lies. But it was different now, because something had happened on a stage with bright lights, something that could not be fully erased. Later, when the safe house finally went quiet, Wolverine sat alone on the roof. The sky was gray. The city looked like a hard thing that never slept. He cleaned his claws with a rag out of habit, even though blood never stayed long on him. It was the act, not the need. It kept his hands busy. It kept his mind from falling into old places. Footsteps came up behind him. Deadpool appeared, moving slower than usual. He carried 2 bottles of water he had stolen from MM's emergency stash. He offered one. Wolverine took it without a word. Deadpool sat on the roof a few feet away, legs dangling over the edge like he didn't respect gravity. For a minute, neither of them spoke. The wind moved. Cars hissed far below. A helicopter passed somewhere distant. Deadpool finally broke the silence, voice smaller. "I did the thing again," he said. Wolverine didn't look at him. "What thing?" "The jumping in front of the laser thing," Deadpool said. Wolverine grunted. "Yeah." Deadpool shrugged. "It hurts every time." Wolverine's voice came out low. "Then stop." Deadpool stared at his bottle. "I can't. Not when it's them." Wolverine's eyes finally shifted toward him. Deadpool didn't look like a clown right now. He looked tired, the kind of tired that comes from pretending too long. "I know what it feels like," Deadpool said quietly, "when somebody decides you don't matter." Wolverine's jaw tightened. He understood too well. Deadpool took a breath. That company, that Cape guy, they think everything is owned. They think pain is a tool. Wolverine's voice was rough. "It is to them." Deadpool nodded. "Yeah." He leaned back on his hands and looked up at the sky. "So," Deadpool said, trying to sound casual, "are we staying?" Wolverine's eyes stayed on the city. "For now." Deadpool's mask tilted. "Because you want revenge?" Wolverine shook his head once. "Because they're hurting people." Deadpool was quiet for a second, then gave a small laugh. "Look at us. 2 violent disasters doing community service." Wolverine didn't smile, but his shoulders loosened a fraction. Deadpool glanced over. "You okay?" Wolverine took a slow breath. "No." Deadpool nodded like that was the honest answer he wanted. "Me neither," Deadpool said. Another beat of silence. Then Deadpool tapped his own chest lightly. "But I'm trying to be the right guy." Wolverine's eyes narrowed. "You?" Deadpool shrugged. "Hey, don't ruin my character growth." Wolverine snorted. Barely a sound, but it was close to a laugh. Deadpool brightened a little at the reaction, then looked serious again. "That flying guy," Deadpool said. "He's going to come back." Wolverine's voice was calm, like steel. "Let him." Deadpool nodded. "And the suit guy, Edgar. He's going to build more of those copies." Wolverine's claws didn't come out. He didn't need them to. "We'll break them," Wolverine said. Deadpool stared at the skyline where Vought Tower stood tall and shiny. pretending it was clean. He lifted his bottle like a toast. "To breaking things," Deadpool said. Wolverine clinked his bottle against it. "To people," Wolverine corrected. Deadpool paused, then nodded once. "To people," Deadpool said. Below them, the city kept moving. Somewhere in that city, people were replaying a clip on their phones again. A clip where Homelander bled. A clip where a man in red stood in front of a laser. A clip where a man with claws refused to bow. The world didn't become better overnight, but the lie had a crack now. And once a crack exists, it can grow.